love yourself, like truly? Have you ever sat down to think about it?
Have you ever seen videos like this?
If you live your life where you're comfortable taking somebody else's point of view on how you should live your life, you deserve to lose.
Do something you want more rather than something that you're doing. That's not discipline. Maybe that works and great. If your life is working out that way, great, man, but that isn't discipline.
Whether you're the main target audience of self-help content or you think that the whole industry is these videos are popular because they address a certain insecurity in people. Most people think that they're not doing enough.
As someone with a deep love for the art of debate, every good discussion starts with definition. So we will start first with what love, and by extension self-love. The three core pillars of self-love: self-respect, self-compassion, and self-acceptance. So grab a pen and paper and let's embark on this journey together.
I definitely was in the main target audience for these videos. I've always been obsessed with productivity.
I've watched hundreds of hours of self-help content.
Videos on how to keep yourself organized, how to maintain self-accountability, and how to improve your productivity overall.
And I was left with the same empty feeling, like my ideal self was always out of my reach. One more goal, one more book, one more habit, and then I'd finally feel okay. But I've always strived to be a logical person, and I eventually realized that this line of thinking is flawed. I want you to be open to learning and reconsidering your approach to productivity and self-improvement. Today's video being done in collaboration with the Difference Maker Movement nonprofit organization. They seek to create change through humanitarian efforts that uphold their core goals of cultural preservation, poverty alleviation, sustainable living, and social unity. If you'd like to get involved or contribute, their contact information will be down in the description.
Love as a concept is often portrayed in the media as something undefinable.
A warm feeling in your stomach, a you'll know when you find it kind of feeling. Something far too abstract to put into words. Because of this, your definition of love becomes incredibly intimate. To me, love is multifaceted, both in the types of love that exist and in all of the actions it encompasses.
Many of us already break down love into its many verbs: to cherish, to hold, to respect, to support, to uplift, to understand, to comfort, to accept. Most of us are familiar with love languages. It is the same concept. To self-love is to extend these verbs into our interpersonal relationship. Your interpersonal relationship is unique to you, hence the name. But what's common across the board is that we all have different parts of ourselves that we show to different people, different things that we embody in different environments. It is up to you to divide yourself, identify and embrace, or suppress and hide any of those parts as you see fit. These decisions are what make you who you are. There will always be that inner world where your desires collide, the habits in your dream life and the habits that uphold your current life. Your passion versus your career and your need for stability. Without a good perspective or framework on life and how you approach these inner battles, your interpersonal world can become a source of depression, unfulfillment, self-hate, and many other psychological and mental issues. Before we get into these ideas and tips, I do want to give a quick disclaimer. I cannot stress enough that these are habits. Any change that you want to introduce in your life needs to be habitual. It needs to make sense around the rest of your habits in your life. They're not to be implemented all at once. It is important to first familiarize yourself with them. Ask yourself any questions, do any necessary research, and see how it can be applied to your life. What personal issue they would help to resolve. yourself. When you do this mindful visualization, it grounds it into reality. In this way, when you find yourself in a moment of struggle, you can acknowledge where you are. You can acknowledge that you have control of your perspective in this specific moment, and you can see what you can change to overcome that adversity in that moment and take a gentle step towards betterment. It is important to change how you speak to yourself and how you use information to build narratives. Remember that small, consistent steps are always better than a big, rushed personality switch. If your plan to improve is to change everything all at once and essentially act like someone else, you will eventually get tired of that act and relapse. You shouldn't feel like this is your fault. This method of creating change is short-lived and unsustainable. Pillar 1. Self-respect. Firstly, there's the pillar of self-respect. Colloquially, self-respect is used to refer to self-image. As someone would say, to respect yourself if you're dressing scandalously or behaving in poor taste. However, I want you to think about the respect you extend to an authority figure, like we saw in the definition. If you have trust in their judgment and believe that they have your best interests at heart, then their words carry weight. You may find yourself saying that you will complete a task or stick to a habit, but if you don't have a good track record, your words may feel like lip service. To respect yourself is to give your words weight and to stick to them because you respect that you make good decisions for yourself. You need to be able to believe that you will do things you say you will do because this determines whether you actually follow through and achieve the goals that you set for yourself. Obviously, just believing is not going to make the thing happen, but it is a large part of the equation. I know we've all heard the saying to just believe in yourself, and I know it's something hard to believe when you haven't really delivered on a lot of the promises that you've made to yourself. But believing in yourself and actually believing, genuinely believing that you have the possibility to follow through on something is half of the battle, because anytime you're feeling discouraged, that motivation will be what will make you get back up. The actual work, you will still have to do the actual work, but the motivation, the getting back up, the not giving up, that comes from believing in yourself, and there's a large part of the process. Pillar 2, self-compassion. Secondly, there's the pillar of self-compassion. We usually understand that someone's upbringings, financial, and worldview impact their choices and path. We have compassion that it is hard for them to achieve success when certain aspects of their life have been predetermined and are a big barrier for them. And we wish to help them and soothe them in their failure. We usually, however, expect ourselves to rise above adversity in a heroic, unrealistic manner. High expectations are not uncommon, nor are they our fault, but they are highly damaging to our psyche. Some believe that this merciless scrutiny is necessary to make progress, and that giving yourself some understanding or self-soothing are somehow signs of weakness. I'd like to provide a different perspective. Imagine you are a person that is dedicated to achieving a goal. Obviously, you will come across challenges on the way. Being able to move past the negative emotions that come along with failure and instead transforming that energy and using it to problem solve and course correct, you will find is the most effective way to move towards success instead of dwell on the emotion. However, there is a healthy and unhealthy way of going about this. There's the way where you take the necessary time not to dwell on failure, but to process your emotions and to forgive yourself and move on from a place of growth. Then there's the way where you never take that time and you just move on, opting to not even acknowledge any sadness, disappointment, or shame that might exist. This is the way of suppressing your emotions, which leads to issues down the line. You must take the time to forgive yourself. Really just acknowledge that we all make mistakes. We all have lapses of judgment. Most of them come from pain, wanting to inflict pain on others while you yourself are hurt, and ignorance, not having all of the information about someone else's situation. And those two things are forgivable as long as you make a plan to work towards healing. Pillar 3, self-acceptance. Lastly, there is the pillar of self-acceptance. Accepting yourself means fully embracing who you are, acknowledging all of your qualities from a neutral perspective, and being okay with just being yourself. We all have areas that can be improved, obviously, some dark and unusual parts, but they do not define or diminish the wonderful parts of us. They simply allow us to experience a piece of the contrasting and chaotic nature of our universe. Accepting yourself needs you to resist temptation to hate your flaws. Hating yourself can become a paralyzing habit. Even if it initially moves you towards working on certain aspects, your brain learns to apply that logic to everything else. So even once you've reached this optimal version of yourself that you're dreaming of now, you would want more because you are accustomed to always wanting more, always being in the mindset of starving. You will apply the same logic that there is something wrong with you now and that you need more to be happy. You'll find new flaws to criticize. You'll never feel fulfilled no matter how much progress you make. It is important to take the time to appreciate and accept where you are now, or you'll never learn how to do so and you'll never be content. So those are all of the tips. To practice these habits, you must first practice mindful thinking or mindful visualization. It's important to really ground things into reality and see how they might be so that when you are in that situation, it's easier for you to step into those shoes. Personally, I feel like once I leave a concept really vague, it is hard for me to really know what it is that I want from a specific thing. So I end up not really getting what it is that I want because it was undefined. And so that was the end of the video. If you reached this far, thank you so much for watching the entire video. I appreciate it with my entire heart. Please tell me any thoughts that you may have, anything that you might want to add, any questions. Make sure to like the video, share it if you think that somebody needs to hear the message. Share it with a loved one or anybody that you think might need a little pick-me-up. I would really appreciate it. Thank you everyone that helped me making this video, and thank you again for our sponsor, the Difference Maker Movement. This would not have been able to be made without them. I'm very grateful to them. And that will be all. Thank you so much for watching again. Bye bye.